Hey everyone, Jamie here from technicalcafe.com. Welcome to your 8th HTML tutorial. In the previous tutorial we learned how to make images into links, and we also learned how to change the color of both active and visited links from within the body tag. So, as you can see over here, in order to make an image into a link, all you need to do is include an image in between the opening and closing over here, image tags, rather than text. And if you come over to our webpage here, you'll notice that this picture of a tree actually links out to google.com, and it opens up in a new tab because we use the target blank attribute. And all of these links here are red rather than blue or purple, regardless of if they're active or have never been clicked on before, or if they're visited or have been clicked on before, because we specified that in the body tag of our HTML document. However, in this tutorial we're not going to learn anything to do with links, though you can surely insert links into what we're going to be learning. We're going to be learning about tables, and tables, as you probably know, are just ways to organize text or anything you want. You can surely insert links into tables if you'd like to. You can insert images into tables, anything you want really. But in this tutorial we're just going to learn how to set up a basic table. So let's go ahead and get rid of this stuff right here, the 3 links that we have to Google, Visa, and McAfee. And we'll refresh here just to show you what it looks like. We're going to create a table that goes right here underneath this tree. It's going to be 2 columns wide by 2 rows deep, and in addition to that we're going to add on some headers which are going to make it 3 rows deep, still by 2 columns wide. So let's go back over to our code here, and we're going to center our table. So we'll add in the center tags here. And between the center tags we're going to actually add in a table tag. And tables are kind of a little bit more confusing than what we've been working with so far, and that there's a bunch of different tags, a bunch of opening tags, a bunch of closing tags, and they all have a T in them. So it might get a little bit confusing, but you'll be fine if you just follow along with what we're doing here. So in order to begin a table, all we need to do is enter in table. We also need to enter in a closing tag for the table, which looks just like that. So anything between here and here is going to be our table. Let me just make this a little bit more readable. So anything between here and here is where we're going to put our table rows and columns. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a row for a table. And we're just going to do that by typing in tr for table row. And down here we're going to enter in /tr to end that row. And we'll refresh, and if you notice, there's still nothing here on the web page because we haven't actually entered any content into the table, just rather set it up. So within a table row we're going to have columns. So what we're going to do to enter a column is we're going to say td for table column, and we're going to end that, and we're going to enter in a separate column, td for table column, and then we're just going to close that. So anything between here and here, this is a row, and within this row there's going to be 2 columns, or rather 2 cells here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to enter in row 1, cell 1, and in here we're going to enter in row 1, cell 2. And what this means, that this right here is going to be table row 1, and this is going to be the first cell, or the first column, and this is going to be row 1, and this is going to be the second cell, or the second column. And I'll show you what that looks like when we come over here and refresh. You'll notice that this right here is row 1 in the table, and cell 1, and this is row 2 and cell 2. Or you can just call this column 1 or column 2, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to call this column 1. We're going to call it column instead, just because it's more kind of like table-like, I guess you could say. So we'll refresh it, and we have row 1, column 1, and then row 1, column 2. So underneath that, underneath this row, we're going to start a new row, tr for table row. And we're going to set up our closing tag here. And in this row we're going to add in another column here, so td, and then we're going to add another one. So, and in this we're going to say row 2, column 1, and in this one right here we're going to say row 2, column 2. And we'll come over here and refresh. And you'll notice that we have row 2, column 1, and row 2, column 2. It doesn't look very organized right now, it just looks like a bunch of text that's organized in rows here. But if you kind of highlight it, you can notice that it is actually divided up into even rows, and I'll show you why in a second, or rather how to make it look more organized. But just for our code right now, you notice that it's all kind of jumbled up. So what we're going to do is, between the rows, we're going to center actually our columns, or move them over using a tab, just to move it over a couple spaces and make it look more, just a little easier to read. So we have right now our first row, and within our first row we have two columns, column 1 and column 2. And within our second row here we have two columns, column 1 and column 2. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually add a border to the table so that you can see what it looks like. So instead of having nothing here, you can see that where these white spaces are, we'll actually add a border so that you can see it better. So if we come over here to our table tag, we can specify an attribute, the border attribute, similar to the same basic idea as in an image when you add a border around an image. And for this we're going to add a 1 pixel border around the cells and rows, just to make it a little bit more easier to read. So we'll come over to our web page here and refresh, and you'll notice now that we have row 1, column 1, row 1, column 2, row 2, column 1, and row 2, column 2. So this is basically how you add rows and columns to a table. Now we're going to learn about table headers, which makes bold text and centers the text within a row in a column all the time, just so it's kind of like a way to add a title, I guess you could say. So what we're going to do is at the top of the table we're going to make a new row, and in this row we're going to add th for table header, and we're going to add another th, and right here what we're going to do is we're going to say header 1, and this is going to be in row 1, column 1. And for this right here, we're going to add a second line here, and we're going to add th for another table header, just so we can have one in row 1 and column 2. So we're going to have header 2 in row 1, column 2. And if we end that here, you'll notice that we refresh, come over here, we'll now have a larger table because I added more data. So this now becomes row 1, column 1. This is row 2, column 1, and this is row 3, column 1. And likewise, the same thing with this side. This is now row 1, column 2,